the sponsorship stuff, so you see for
You get on attendance?
the one with all
Good
the
evening.
sponsors on it.
Attendance is done, we will get started. Open forum, will you join us for open forum or just?
I have
spectate?
nothing to say. I have a New Year's resolution that's still going strong of being more involved.
Okay, well, welcome. Absolutely okay.
It's 15 days in, I'm doing good.
Alright, nobody else for open forum, so moving to secretary's report.
Alrighty, I sent out the December minutes last week to you guys by email. So just looking to, any questions, corrections, mistakes at all? Otherwise I make a motion to approve the December minutes that were sent out in the email last week.
I'll second.
Second, favor? Good? Okay.
Alright,
What's up?
I emailed out the financials from December. Does anybody have any questions on those? A lot of the deposits from Crossbar were the Mike meltdown, and then also, people who did the payment plan for lower levels, payments from Nova Scotia. Yeah, that's always fun. So with Crossbar, it's actually easier than the Quartz Engine. I can go into a payment, a deposit report, and it shows me the deposits they made. If you click on the deposit, then it will show me each individual deposit that happened. So then I have to split.
And those delayed payments from City of Farmington will show on the next month's report, right?
So, I know I've mentioned this before, that the city is the only rink that still mails us invoices. I got an August invoice and a November invoice and had no others. So that's what I had paid, and then Jeremy sent me an email about a week ago with September, October as outstanding, and then December's. So I made a point to him that this is exactly why I'm requesting him to email them to me. Cause I said everyone else emails them and they're paid 2 weeks at the very most. So hopefully that will push him now to, do that, but with that said, so you'll see
You see
next
more out
month,
than normal.
you'll see a $90,000 payment to the city of Farmington because it's 3 months worth of ice.
Fun stuff.
Hey Melissa, when with the goalie contract, when is that one up again? I know we're still paying them.
They're contracted through the end of this season.
Yeah, end of August, or does it start up?
It's through the end of the season, and so I'm pretty sure the summer programming would be part of the new contract. I might have that backwards though, cause we signed their last contract in August. So I think it's through the summer program.
Okay.
So we wanna make sure we get base time secured for that.
Any other questions? Okay, then I will motion to approve the December financials as presented in email.
Second.
Scott beat you. Put Scott in the records. In favor? Good? Okay. You doing gambling or who's doing gambling?
I'm doing gambling, it's easy, they don't have the reports ready yet, so we don't have numbers, so it's gonna have to come out via email as soon as Desiree gets
Lots of money.
the numbers together.
No, but new calendar year and everything too, everything's
Has there
gonna
been any update on the mug or no?
Yeah, I think that's further down.
be. Yeah, there is an update on that coming.
Sorry.
Okay.
Every time.
It's okay. Rob, we'll forgive you. Alright, and then for District 8, Dave let me know that District 8 hasn't had a district meeting in 2 months, so they have not, there's no updates there, nothing new. There was some reminders and stuff that have been shared out to the appropriate levels and coaches. Just on game counts and things like that. Alright, new business. Somebody's got a note on skating treadmill.
So that was me, I put that note. I wasn't gonna propose like spending any money now, but I wanted to throw out that we put a group of people together, to look at getting space to put in that treadmill, along with all the equipment that's been mentioned that we had set up when we were hoping we could go to the high school, which turned out we can't work with anymore at this time. So, I don't know what it would cost. I honestly haven't had a lot of time to look into it, but to me, I think we've started building some momentum and conversations, at least with everything we're talking about, you know, phases for this new rink if it's gonna get off the ground. And I know people have made a lot of comments directly to me like, hey, you know, great, show me when you get something done. And this to me seems like a quick win for our board and association. I'm not denying it's gonna cost some money and we'd have to figure out what we would spend. But I guess to me, I'd like to explore that and we could have something of our own. And then to take it a step further, I know we're looking at this summer program for the shooting board. To me, that's something we could then incorporate at our own facility to take place. And with a skating treadmill, we could even then incorporate, and I'm not volunteering to coach this because I can't, but like we could do a power class or something like to help pay for some of this cost. So I guess to me, you know, I know the conversation's been, well, we might be able to get in the rink. I know, Tim, there's a note you're gonna talk about that.
Yeah, I'll update on that.
But I guess I thought it might be worth exploring. We own the biggest piece in expensive equipment. Maybe let's see what we could do and have something that's our own within the city that, you know, we set hours, that it's open, we get people trained. Maybe it's a dib thing. Someone has to station it at night. You could have a drop-in a couple days a week or something like that.
Yeah, it's worth exploring and continuing to explore. We have explored it in the past also. Where the apartment building went in, we looked at renting that building. Once upon a time, we had what was called the Tiger Den, which was a dry land facility that had shooting lanes and that. So we have shooting tarps, we have shooting tiles, we have materials to furnish a facility. Finding an appropriately sized space at a reasonable rate would be the challenge to it, but it's certainly something that should remain on the table. You go to everybody else's rink, everybody else's association around us, and they have shooting lanes, right? We played in Egan the other day. There goes the whole Egan team. Helmets, sticks, gloves, they're off to the shooting lanes for their pregame. Everywhere you go has that. We are lacking that facility. Even if treadmill goes into Schmitz Mackey, there's still not space for shooting lanes. There's still not space for the other stuff. So when we walked that line 2 years ago with that building, we talked about, you know, keypad access and coaches and parents, you know, and so we have a tracking and a way to know who gets in and out of there. Obviously, as we still are trying to go to the ultimate goal of a completely new facility, we have to be mindful of how do we fund and pay for that real estate, for that rent or whatever it may be, because there's going to be renters insurance and things that have to come with it too. But absolutely a line that's worth walking and continuing to walk and look at, and all options should be explored, because any opportunity to provide more facilities for our players is worth the time and effort, in my opinion. So keep posted on that. If, you know, if there's somebody that thinks they have a good space that they'd be willing to do at a reasonable rate. Commercial real estate's not my forte, but I know $12, $13, $14 a square foot is not uncommon, which can add up pretty quick. So, and then as far as the treadmill update, I did meet with the city last week on the first draft of the contract amendment. So it was going to be an amendment to our current arena use contract to place the treadmill up in the mezzanine area. A couple of key highlights from that is they were looking for $850 a month in rent for the space, which was $5 a square foot. Very competitive for commercial rental space, but kind of a sticking point for us, right? Because there's going to be ice out times, there's going to be restrictions on when we can use it, not during high school games, not during the craft fairs, not during private rentals, things like that. So I kind of countered to them like, you know, I'm going to have a problem with paying you rent for a space that I cannot access at all times. They still have no appetite for providing us a key and access to the building. That's understandable. I get that, but and they're going back there to their lawyers and they're going for a second draft. Part of it was if we're paying rent, we want access. The other part was installing the fence, the security camera, the different things. They were going to contract it out and then send us a bill. I told them that's not acceptable to us. We will provide licensed, insured, real contractors to do that thing, but work with our partners and exchange it for advertising or other things so it doesn't have an actual financial cost to us. So that was the counter on that. The other counter I gave them was on, they wanted us to get personal property insurance. I countered that they need to be more willing to accept other forms of insurance. If I'm paying rent, I should be able to get renter's insurance, which is gonna be cheaper and make it more usable. Access would be for FYHA only. It would not be available for other people to rent, etc. Their other concern was, well, you can only have one kid on there at a time. If you're gonna have a whole team in there, we don't want 12 kids running around. It's like, cool, then let us hang up a TV next to it and we can do film with teams and we can find ways to make sure the kids are supervised in that. But the insurance, the rent, and the access are really the counterpoint. So they're going back to their attorneys and their insurance companies with those counters, and they will provide a new draft once they've had those meetings. So to the point, it is gonna be a slow process. They're not ready to go. They were talking about like literally ice out day, having us put it up there here this spring and start paying rent, but then telling us we couldn't use it right away. Now rent would be half during those periods of time where the ice is out. We're not in there using the facility, which understandable, but I still think if we're renting the space, we should have access to the space, and that's probably going to be the sword we die on with it.
Do they still expect us to give them the generous donation that they're supposed to improve the
Yes.
facility with?
Yes, this would be a rider or an addition to the current contract. So it would not change those terms. This would be all unique and individual terms. There's a few other little details about, we'd have to provide them a list of who's trained and authorized to open it up and use it and train kids on it and all that, but those aren't the sticking points. The sticking points are with how do we insure and how do we access and what the cost would be. So more to come on that as they come back with their counter to the counter, but right now that's sitting in the negotiation phase, which from there, could be weeks. We get a counter, we counter again, back and forth. Eventually, if we agree to terms at some point, our board would have to approve the terms to sign the contract, and then the city council would have to approve the terms of the contract as well. So that's where that one sits.
Melissa, I know we motioned a few months ago to obviously pay the storage. Did we give you enough time to keep working through this, or do you need more storage money? Are we okay still?
We
We
did
covered
6
it.
months,
6 months?
Okay.
Yeah.
but,
Tim,
I mean, at some point we'll have to make a decision too, is this something that we wanna keep battling, or do we wanna offload this thing? There are some groups that might potentially be interested in purchasing it as well from us, if we can't work something out or figure it out.
Correct.
well, and to that point, of what Matt said earlier about if there's a facility or anything that we look at, I mean, I don't know about all of you, but I'm just leery of putting that treadmill up in the mezzanine. The fact that once you get it up there, if we decide to switch and we wanna move it and then try and get it back out, I'm wondering if the city's been open to, like, I know we're in a skate corner where we store everything. There's a door right there where we can easily get it through the door, set it up in the corner, working on that. I mean, again, I want the treadmill in the rink, but I mean, I wanna be realistic, and on top of it, that's our only area to gather, have people congregate, use it. You're now gonna take that away, and then literally 86 the concession stand area, sit around, do stuff. If we ever have events, it's now just strictly downstairs right in front of the office and skate sharpening, and I feel like I want it, but I don't want to try it. Us kill ourselves getting that thing all the way up and get it set up, and then 4 months later we're like, well, nope, now we're gonna move it and we're gonna try and get it out.
And it doesn't move for free. It
Yeah,
requires forklifts and
100%.
flatbeds and stuff, and the people who own those things don't own them because they just use them for free.
Mhm.
So, yeah, there's a lot of layers to it. I do know we have a couple people that have expressed interest in purchasing it from us if we cannot find a way to execute this somewhere.
And are we dead with the school per se for a while until they figure out their budget situation? Or can we go back to them?
I could follow up with Coach Holmes and see where that's at. It's very dicey talking about and it's a weird deal because the bond referendum and all those things are completely different from the athletics budget. The money that was going to be spent for that space was already budgeted to be spent in athletics. It's just they're dealing with how does it look if we spend this money in athletics when we're saying we don't have enough money to operate our classrooms? Well, that's the funny thing about budgets is the money was already set for that. So, yeah, whether it's that or not, the hesitation is we put that in the high school. Is it really truly going to be there for the youth? Yes, it'll be there for us, but as a parent, do you want to go to an hour of practice here and then drive across town for another hour of it, or is it easier if you can drop off at the rink and you got 2 hours of training and activity altogether? So, a lot to explore, but I'll get a hold of Homer here. He's a tough guy to get a hold of, but he doesn't have any games or practices on Sundays, so I'm gonna trade it over. Any other commentary or questions, thoughts around treadmill / facility stuff?
Did we talk to the city after the picture incident with the dog stuff? Did we get anywhere with that? Just because we're talking about the rink now?
No, they're going to follow up on it,
Okay,
so canned response.
got it.
Surprise. You have something?
No, I should say to Matt's point, I mean, we already have the treadmill, it's one of the bigger expenses. I would hate to see it go. I mean, I myself have looked into some type of power skating instruction, to get like certified myself. I know that throughout the winter, there's teams where when the high school's up and going, there's maybe one practice a week. So not necessarily I'm looking at it as in if parents want to go from the rink, to a different location all in one night, it would be the rink on Monday, is the treadmill on Tuesday or Wednesday. So I don't see the second location as a big obstacle. I think that we should expand all options to put this thing to use, as well as the shooting lanes. I've talked to individuals at local gym here, where we somehow partner with them if they have extra space at their facility already. If we somehow partnered with them, then there's a dry land facility and a treadmill right there. So I think that to say, hey, if you want to buy it, of course they want to buy it because they see the value in buying the treadmill. So I think that we need to cross every bridge we possibly can to put it to use before we get rid of it.
Well, and I know it's another part of the discussion, but I think the feedback's been really popular this year, how we added Wednesdays for the mites. People really like that we added every other Wednesday. And even maybe, and I know we're always being conscious about money, but do we get the mites every Wednesday, then you basically schedule them into a dry land space we find, and yeah, there's a cost increase, but if it helps pay for it, we keep this important piece of equipment. The mites are thriving with more ice time. It just gives them another option to do stuff. And technically, yeah, we'd be renting the space, but we're not paying the ice bills. I mean, I know there's still costs.
Yeah,
And the cost is to parents, I think the cost is justifiable, if they're getting something
if
out
you're
of it.
getting something else.
Like
If the cost goes up
for
and
other
you still
sports
get
this
just
year,
2 hours
we
a
just
week,
cut a big check for what? It's hard to say, well, we're getting this cost for other sports, but if we can actually detail, say, hey, look, now we have this treadmill to add on the off Wednesday for the mites, how valuable would that be? And now we see what we're getting with extra dollars.
Well, you gotta realize though, we have to do dry land at X hockey too. We pay for it.
Yeah.
So I think this
That's
facility would be
tied to
more
the
for
ice.
probably upper level.
Sure,
with
yeah.
the treadmill too. So I don't think.
Not that I wanna get away from X hockey, but is that a contract you have with?
Yeah,
If you buy ice
it's
with them, you gotta do
contingency.
it.
You
Oh,
have
gotcha.
to take certain
Okay. That makes
hours
sense.
of dry land for hours of ice.
Which good, and we keep that option as well then, so.
Yeah, end of the day, I think plan A would be to get that thing and get it installed at the Mackey, but there's contractual issues there. Plan B is some sort of dryland facility in town where we retain the assets. 'cause
Yeah, and that's
it's-
my thought, cause we talked about from the.
We sell it and then 3 years from now come up with a new place, it's gonna cost 4 times as much to replace it.
Exactly right, and then we talked about like, from the player development committee, you know, with our off-season, the rink rats, you know, if we had the treadmill, we had shooting lanes, an open facility where, again, Matt, I think it's a good idea if we had dips, and just have there for 3 hours or whatever the case is, to monitor it, but kids during the summer could go in this place and shoot pucks. Not maybe at the treadmill that day, but they could be shooting pucks and check off the rink rat.
It also just helps that foster that togetherness if they're going to one place to do this. And we said
Yeah.
part of the rink rec program is here, this is where it takes place. It keeps all these kids together.
Agreed.
Yeah, and that's huge, right? We talk about how do we retain our numbers and girls. If they're doing more activities together, it becomes more than just the love of hockey, it becomes the love of being around their friends and with their peers, and that's going to always help numbers.
Maybe we hit up Brent and be like, we need a sponsor to partially pay for a dryland facility. He seems to be pulling those out everywhere.
Hit them up. Hit them up. Have him build an extension off his garage. No, but yeah, keep posted as you get more information or receive any leads. You know, we should continue to explore everything because it's.
Let's see if I can at
only
least get some
benefit.
rates of what we'd be looking at.
Yeah, because that's gonna obviously be a big thing, but at the same time, is there, you can offset it by making it a rental. At the end of the day, parents pay buco bucks to go somewhere else to use a skating treadmill. Well, you do it for half the price here at home, you know, with your friends. So, no, good stuff.
How far are we into this rental space for the treadmill right now?
2
Did we
months.
do that October?
Just to your point, it's gonna cost twice to 3 times as much to get one down the road if we sell it.
Right.
Do we need to consider looking to extend out that rental space for another 6 months while we're continuing to search?
Which we can wait on.
Yeah,
I would wait on that.
I think
Just
we
keep tabs
will,
on
but
kinda where
just
we're at.
watch, right?
You know that they'll be able to extend it.
We paid up front for 6 months, and
Yeah.
I'm sure we can go monthly.
And that's probably the best way to do it, give time for some of these things to be sorted out and plan A, B, C, D, E, everything but selling it, really. Awesome, anything else on that topic?
I'm good.
Okay, awesome, good conversation. Mr. Mack, looks like you're up next.
Yes, so I know we had quite the dilemma at the beginning of the year with girls goalies for U10. Lindsay was trying to recruit and all that. We've been working very hard with the U8s. We've identified 2 ladies that are very interested in playing goalie and want to move forward with it. And one of the ideas I know we talked about is investing in those girls so that they have a way to be in a position to play it. Right now, we do have goalie gear, but it's pretty beat up. I know Rob, I'm not gonna, Rob, I'll bring you over there and we'll look at it, but what I don't get is we have 28-inch brand new pads. For who we bought those for,
There's missing pads that are
There's
brand
not.
new.
I've got 10 sets. I'll bring them over here, we'll look at them together, so we'll check that out after. But what I'd love to do is invest in these girls and invest in getting them equipment so that we can move forward with fostering the program and so that we do have girl goalies next year in U10. I've been working with one of our goalie coaches in the program who can help us right now to get them both fully loaded. That's pads, blocker, glove, chest protector, breezers. So $21.50, but I'm willing to entertain where if we want to try at least reduce that, working with getting pads, working getting with gloves, trying to do something to get them to continue to stay interested in doing this next year. One, it helps us from a team perspective so that we have identified goalies for the next year for the U10 girls. And then it also helps us show that we're trying to build into the girls program overall.
What size pads do they need? Because we've got when we bought pads 2 years ago, we bought some at the mite size and we bought some for the squirt and the next size up. Are these girls just not getting to that size of that pad?
The majority, one set we had to borrow from was a 26+1. I stole those from the donate bin. And the other one is 24+1s that are working.
There are a few, brand new sets in the Mike program.
Yeah.
The girls
There
just
should be
don't,
like 6
the
or
girls just
7
don't have
brand new
them.
sets that are out there, plus the
It-
2 or 3 in the locker that are brand new,
In
that
my-
are too big.
Yeah, those are like the 28s, which almost would fit me if you like, but, and I don't know anything about goalies, but they're big on kids. Rob, to your point, when like the team pads that my team has, they look great from the outside, but the straps are like
Straps,
stretched out,
straps.
they literally shake on the kid. And then they go down and then their knee hits the ice because the pad is not, so they're beat up and, we make do but
And those are the new Vaughn pads that are beat up?
I have new, like, they look new CCM.
You like have to like
Yeah,
tie
two
them
different
together
brands.
because they don't even like.
We had an order from Shields and then we had an order from Strauss.
Correct.
Who, if you were here. Do you know the specific girls, Scott, that, my only concern with buying
One
the
is-
pads would be
One
They-
is taller.
they leave the association and then, I don't know, we
That's
just,
why I feel like there would need to be some sort of like,
there are pads,
They
but
gotta
like
sign
they're
or sign
for you.
up.
Right.
So
Yeah.
Apple
With a
Valley
deposit.
Burnsville does,
Yeah.
you
Oh, yeah.
leave a deposit check and you get a set of
I'm
pads.
fine
and when
with
you outgrow
doing
them, they
any
get
of
you the next
those
set.
They'll keep-
stipulations.
Nobody starts in brand new,
Yeah.
it's all reused and recycled.
I just,
I'll sell you a set of 28+1s for $50 that are in great shape, power
Yeah.
S5s ready to roll.
and I mean, like I
I don't know what
said,
you just said,
to
but
Rob's
sounds
point, we
good.
have some
You ask if I
brand
do anything
new,
about goalies, I don't.
we have brand new pads in there, it's just they're 28s. So this one individual, I don't know what,
I have the Strauss one, I'm trying to find
I think we're just missing
the
pads,
Shields.
is what the deal is, because we bought quite a few smaller pads.
So we're just missing
Smaller
numbers
ones
on
I've-
the thing of we just need to order the correct
People
size.
didn't turn them back in last year,
That's
cause
what I'm
someone
saying.
on our team,
People have them.
Elsie's team, he goes, oh, I have a whole thing of goalie equipment at our house, no one asked for it back. And I was like, well, can I have that back? And he gave it to me, so our coach has it now for our U8 girls. But there has to be equipment out there. That
Did
never
we
got
put
returned.
out a message to the
Massive, yeah.
membership and
Yeah.
just
no,
say,
I've already reached out to all the coaches.
Well, but you do a
No,
social
but-
media
Yeah.
post.
Yeah.
to the whole membership,
Yeah.
like an
I
email,
gotta
because a coach may not know, a family may have it,
Right.
who was told, just go ahead and hang on to it.
Yeah, and that's what happened here. He's like, I didn't know what to do with it. And I'm like, well, I'll take it.
Trying to find my list. I tracked down probably 9 sets throughout the year from coaches and previous. And then again, I stole stuff out of the donation bin because they were actually in really good shape. So I took those to add to our stock. But
And I thought that was
long story short, I mean, we keep telling ourselves how the girls' program's dying. We're losing stuff. What do? Here's an opportunity. It's $2,200 to invest to get 2 kids that want to play goalie and keep them around. I sit here and I wonder, one, is that really worth us saving $2,200, or do we excite 2 girls that want to be part of the program and stick around? Now, I totally agree. There should be some stipulations. You don't just get to get the equipment and walk off into the sunset. If you decide to open and roll or waiver out, you got to give the equipment back.
Shields, we had 2
Yeah.
sets of CC.
But-
We just own it, but like
Yeah,
we're
but
buying it for
we-
you.
We never
We're
got the
getting it
power
for them
sets,
so
we
that
got the
they have
Vaughn
the
sets and the
opportunity to
CCM
continue to
sets.
play in it.
The power sets.
Through
didn't
the
have
Which I think is
that.
completely fair.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it was 2 sets of CCM and
Sorry,
4
motion.
bags is what we got from Shields.
But we spent like 12 grand, right?
I have the order. We spent
So you said you did email the
That-
association
that
of
was-
people?
I've all the
That was
lower level coaches
3,500,
last year.
that was
I emailed.
3,500 bucks for that, and
And I
then
have a
Strauss is
set and
where
a
we got
half
the
that
Vaughn.
we're rotating, so.
And that was probably,
So I don't think anyone's against it, I think we just don't wanna buy anything that that we already have.
I would almost be interested in approaching it as offering a grant to help them outfit pads and take them to Stobbers, Gold Crease, where you can get, consignment pads for cheap. That's where I buy almost all my stuff.
Okay.
The one thing you're
I
opening
got a
up is-
$700 helmet for $200.
I mean, what's to say, like, boy squirt or boy mic, then they're like, why do the girls get free pads?
Yeah, that's
Is that fair?
But if they want, I
Right
wouldn't
now
be
I have
opposed to-
one goalie for 4 teams
I
next
get
year,
it,
so I
but-
think it's fair.
So I mean, I'm saying if you're gonna do something like that, maybe you should look at with the lights too, the boys.
Yeah.
I mean, I can definitely agree with you. I mean, that goes back then against your argument about you've got a ton of pads already that fit kids.
That's what I'm saying.
That we, well, no, but that's what I'm also saying is that we're trying to cultivate two girls out of not normally being a goalie.
Yeah.
The ones that are already my goalies, Rob, they went out and they bought their own equipment. That's not our equipment. That's theirs. So I mean, that was already kids making investment and saying, you know what, I'm gonna play goalie. And then the ones that are, they are using our goalie equipment, but like I've got quick change pads. Like I had a little guy yesterday, it was awesome, but quick change pads, even with the shin pad on, I had to tape them around with sock tape to keep them on. And so, I mean, it's just, I get it, it's a tough deal, but at the end of the day, I feel like girls is a little bit more unique where we're trying to keep it and invest in it. And if it's a minimal amount, which for everything we've been doing fundraising and doing a lot better, and even I'm willing to look at grants or whatever, it's showing them that we care and we want them to stay and build.
I'd say from a boys perspective, Scott and I are very connected to the lower level, right? 1, 2, and 3, and 4, I guess. But we're I'm not concerned about the boys right now. I have lots of concern about girls, and so I think this is a something easy we can do. And we have a lot of excitement about goalie and the boys side, but I don't hear pushback on buy me my own equipment. You know, if there's a third grader that we'll tackle that then, but that's not a problem right now. I think it's more on the girls side and leaving the U8s after this year is what our concern is.
So that's what these girls want, or no?
Yeah. They're looking for help to being able to do it and continue it because we've been trying to say, hey, this is important, we need goalies, you guys are enjoying it, you wanna step up. How can we help you to kind of do this and push you in the direction so if you do wanna do it? And again, trying to find ways, and I'm willing to entertain anything where it takes a little bit of the burden off. Because again, Lindsay's point, you can't have teams where there's one goalie.
And we have to, I know we bought new stuff and it kills me that we don't know where it is and it's not tracked. And Scott, you have our commitment. If you have, we are gonna take inventory and then we're gonna be very selective about how we hand it out next year too, on top of that. But if you're trying to breed a culture that embraces goalie, you can make or break that experience by having really bad equipment. So I had a kid on my team, I think our team's doing good, but the leg pads flop around, he drops down to his knees, his knee hits the ice, and then the puck hits his knee at the same time, and he's like, I'm out, never again. So I just think nice new stuff for these girls that are raising their hand will go a long way. And we also have to have a conversation with them and their parents about you're signing up for a commitment here too. So.
Yeah, I like the idea. I would just put stipulations like FYHA owns the pads.
Yeah.
Sign out, have
100%.
not necessarily a damage deposit, but some kind of deposit saying, hey, if you don't return these pads at the end of the season, then you don't get your money back.
Yeah.
I saw the CCM, I saw the
We got a ton of hours.
We got 7 shots.
I like it.
So yeah, so I'd like a motion for $2,200 to invest in girls' goalies equipment.
Second.
Hold on. And what's the stipulation?
And
That
stipulation would be
Farmington
that
owns it?
Farmington owns
Okay.
it, and we'll make sure to get them to sign a waiver that if you do decide to leave Farmington program, goalie equipment stays with us.
You said 2,200?
Deposit check.
And this is
Something.
to outfit the two girls that'll be moving from U8 to U10 to help build the number for next year.
Mhm.
What is the contingency plan? One of them hits a growth spurt, we go buy 24-inch pads, and all of a sudden they need 26
I think we
inch
have
pads
the
in the
bigger
fall.
pads.
I've got a pair of 26 ones,
I-
but one of the sets of pads that we're looking to get is,
Basically, I'm hearing the Prodigy are too small, and the Squirt 26 and 28.
I would
are too big.
recommend we
Yeah,
do a
there's-
24 one and a 26 one for the pads, because one of the girls is extremely tall, so
Have
she's
20.
gonna have to get.
We got 26s last year.
That was part
Can we
of
do a
this
call
girl
out to all the
thing.
coaches then and just say, hey, let's see what's out there? I just
think
reached
we
out.
need to do
I think it
it
needs
on
to
the
go to every
membership, cause I
family
think
because-
they're sitting at people's houses just like a.
So we'll
ton
do
of
one more
business.
I
community
just reached
sweep
out.
for
I
pads,
got a
but
pair of pads
I
right
think
here
the
from a
motion is up to
equal team.
22, so if we don't need to spend it, we don't need to spend it, right?
So motion for 2,200 for goalie pads with the stipulation that they are owned by FYHA and they can sign out pads with a deposit?
Some sort of form they sign or something.
I can send the email tomorrow to the association, just, we're trying to wrangle up. Can you just tell us if you have any gear, basically?
I mean, is it worth also putting in there that we're accepting donations to goalies?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yep. I can put that in there too. I'll go out tomorrow.
Absolutely, because there's gear piled in people's garages.
I just run up here, talking to somebody.
I know nothing about goalie gear. Is it gonna be harder for them to break in Bradley like with pads versus used pads anyways?
Yeah.
So I mean, would it make sense to go like play it again?
Yeah, play it again, or Stavers, I mean, it's consignment in Edina.
It's mostly just the glove though that you're trying to work at.
No, you gotta break into like that a little
Oh,
bit
you
too. They
Yeah,
break
for sure the
in,
glove.
they break in
Depends on
easier
how
than the
people
gloves.
goalie is.
Kate's
The gloves
I know,
are,
right?
the gloves are an absolute bear to get broken in.
Yeah, Jackson's still working on this.
Find some machines.
Okay, so up to 22, if you can find other means, do it. We'll do another community sweep, call it good.
I think it's
Okay, so did we vote technically? I second.
Haven't voted. We got the second, but haven't cast
Yeah.
it.
So, you got a motion, got a second, in favor?
Obviously, there's caveat, yeah, I'll try to look, use and find everything I can.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, okay, that's good.
Alright, next one up is just me keeping it going in order. So, out of working with the feasibility study and trying to work on things, I was approached by the AD, Keith Badger, about the opportunity about doing an outdoor hockey game next year at the high school. And just briefly talked about partnering not only with the hockey game and doing the boards and everything, but keeping that outdoor rink up the whole winter at the high school. And so this is a very, very kind of open-ended, wishful, like
Like on the nice football
on
field?
the nice football field and everything, to where it was a opportunity of his where he wants to play every sport inside the football stadium. So volleyball, like, you know how Nebraska did the volleyball team at their football stadium. And when you got to hockey, he's like, I'd love to partner with you guys in a way where if we do this hockey game, the boards stay up.
If we rent the ice by the hour, but to me, it sounds like a fish for us to fund a significant
It could be.
portion of it.
Again, it's a
For them to use
very
it for one highlight activity and then tell us there's
idea.
any restrictions.
But what I did get him to say is, I go, there will be stipulations from us, and are you okay with us pushing back on revenue, costs, you guys maintaining and doing the maintenance where someone's gotta come out with an ATV vehicle and Zamex, we're not buying you a Zamboni, to Zam the ice, and he was
Okay,
like,
that might sell one.
everything's open, but obviously I wanna make sure we even wanna look at entertaining it and move forward before I do any legwork, but there will
I would
be
ask them, is
costs.
this something that you're gonna do with or without us? And I would approach it more from, yeah, if you're gonna leave it up all year, cool, we'll rent it at the going rate for ice time or whatever. But,
Maybe that money would be better suited
well,
towards the new facility.
but, yeah, but the teams would be renting it, so I'd hate to see us chip in on a refrigeration system or boards or a huge expense and chunk of this to find out that we don't even get to use it.
That's my point, like, if they're willing to dish out money like that, then let's look to a more sustainable option
Don't they
than
have
a
huge budget
temporary.
cuts?
But they're different buckets.
No, but at the same time, if it's something that's going to happen and there's a relationship in it that's not hampering our association's ability to function, you know, you host an outdoor tournament or something for a PVC level, and do something to try to bring in some additional revenue with that additional facility that we need, but I would hate to end up on the hook for
100%.
30 grand that could go towards a permanent facility for a temporary, potentially 1-year deal.
No, 100%. This was very unique idea, and I think everything is open to how how we wanna do it, so it's more or less sitting down and entertaining it and then truly trying to iron out all the details so that they would work not only for us, but obviously for the school if they really were doing it, so. But I wanna make sure anyone is like, no, that's the stupidest idea.
I think we need to hear more.
Like, I just stop. Cause we all know we don't need to work on stuff that we don't need to chase, so.
No, and I know that's something Holmes has been after for years to try to get the refrigeration system somehow, try to get in the mix on the hockey day host or anything like that. Cause, you know, there's part of it where, and don't be surprised if this is something they try selling you later is, wow, but if you buy the refrigeration system to do this, then you already own your refrigeration system if you build a new rink. Right? It's like, yeah, but SD 192 donating land for us to build that rink on in exchange for that refrigeration system. Like, you know, there's just, would be fun, would be super cool.
I was out for 25. Nobody here? Sorry.
No, you're good. What kind of stuff?
It's 25.
So I'll snoop around a little bit more, but again, it was more just to get everybody's thoughts and see if it was worth it or if it's like, no,
Yeah, if there's a way that we can rent and get access to it, great. I just don't know that that would be a wise investment from an investment perspective. But that's why we have a whole team here. I don't make all the decisions.
You're right.
Could be really cool though.
It'd be awesome, but at what expense?
Could be really cool. That's some cool things to be able to see.
Yeah. That's it, yeah.
High school pays for it, we skate there.
Yeah, that'd be even cooler.
I mean, yeah, that's a great point.
You know, they
And
built
also
that
it's a fun
giant school and didn't build a rink for us to rent time for and
Yeah.
skate in when they built it, so forgive me if my faith is a little low in that avenue
Absolutely.
for all those reasons. Alright, next one I wanna bring up is, ice scheduler contract. So Dakota, I shared the contract with you, right? We kind of agreed to the terms.
Yep, I have my site copy.
Okay.
Yep.
So, this is an invaluable service to our association. Without it, if you've got a kid in baseball and you've had to try to schedule your own practices and games and everything, it sucks. Terms of the contract are 3 years, $6,000 a year. If a renewal is signed before the end of the third year, there's a $1,000 bonus in that. Very fair rate for an incredible amount of work. It's the same terms as the previous contract, but we have to approve that as a board. Dakota and I have been back and forth on it. She's prepared to sign. I'm prepared to sign, but I need board approval. So,
I'll motion to approve.
Second.
favor?
Thank you, Dakota.
You do a great job, Dakota.
Thanks, guys.
Good. Say we're gonna have a knockdown drag out if that went any other way. So I don't want that job. No.
So 3 years for $6 and $1,000 bonus?
If renewed before the end of the third year, yeah, I don't. Yeah, you don't have to put that in there, just, no, basically we're voting to give me the authority to sign the contract.
Just for the motion to.
Alright, who's got the mug update? I've heard rumors. Somebody put one on paper though.
I heard I got one.
Unless someone should do it.
No, it's right there.
Yeah, somebody's got it in there.
I'm assuming.
Oh, I wonder if Tina or Amy put that in there. The word on the street is that the mug is potentially reopening, but around the end of the month here. New ownership, they go in front of city council next week for their liquor license. On my way here, I drove by, there was people inside working. So, I saw like a plant in there, so. Might be upgrading. No, so that'll go in front of city council next week, so we'll keep a close eye on that. Obviously, if there is a new owner and they're reopening, we will work to reestablish that, Pull Tab and charitable gambling relationship ASAP. It's a great resource for us there that we've been missing the last couple weeks, so more to come on that. Alright. John catches up there, we can move to committee updates, so Melissa.
Pitch up there, 'cause I don't think he has to add anything.
Yeah.
So we met for our January meeting last night. We continued to kind of establish some recommendations for the improvement of the tryout process. So we're looking at everything from evaluators, how we wanna do that, pick pools, all that stuff is being looked at. We're gonna meet here again in February with the goal to kind of develop a summary report so that we can bring that forward to the 2025-26 committee, so that wherever that lands, whoever's on that committee, if there's new people, they have the information from the work that we've done this year, and just the feedback of what we saw based on how tryouts went this year and compared to other years, and trying to continue to improve that process.
So I'll just add on to that. Last year, we came out of tryouts and met immediately following it and continued to meet on a regular cadence instead of just, oh, tryouts are done, we'll get back to it again in the summer. We're continuing that, and you know, we had the discussion last night. We have a February meeting when we're about to be 1 month away from a new board and the turnover. And the decision was, yeah, let's do that and let's set up our roadmap and make sure we keep that continuity. Committee leads and other committees, I would strongly recommend before this board year's up, having another one and just kind of having some sort of documented handoff the things you've been working on. So as Jordan's making committee assignments for next year, we're not just April 1st, we start over again. You know, we can continue to build on the work that everyone's done this year, to just help build from going forward, so. Nice job, Melissa. It wasn't as sarcastic as it sounded. Player development.
Yeah, so circling back on our last update last month, the off-season program, we're just buttoning everything up. I'm hoping to work with Matt and have everything up on the site by end of the week. And then we'll start working within the player development committee, obviously, to start identifying how we want to administer, where we're gonna do the program in the off season, as well as I need to circle back with Mr. Casano on the board that we're gonna use to recognize, and then maybe even try to determine what kind of incentive players get once they hit the milestone within the program and that. So still a lot of legwork, but getting the program itself laid out is the biggest piece right now. And then we'll have that, and we can start sitting down with the player development committee, figuring out final details.
Did Mike send you a picture on Sunday of the board? I know he took one.
No.
I accidentally ran into him over at the Minnetonka rink and got to see the board in their locker room that he's kind of modeling the idea off of. It's sweet, cause it's just, you put up a new plaque each year.
Yep, and that's what we wanna do, and that'll be paid for. I've already got a donor that's gonna pay for that, so that's no money out of our pocket in that, so it's just getting the dimensions and figuring out again how it all ties together. So we can have fun with it.
Good stuff. Coaches committee.
Not a whole lot. We are down to one coach without CEP, but they were in a car accident, so they're not going to be coaching anyways, I guess. So thanks for all the coaches for getting your credentials done.
That's good stuff. So
yeah,
technically zero red
technically
lines.
zero red lines.
That's pretty good. I'd shout out to Lindsay as a registrar, helping keep track of all that. She's not here, but we'll acknowledge it. It's awesome. Budget, finance, and grants, Melissa, you noted nothing new.
Yeah, there's nothing really new, to put on there. The only thing that we probably should think about next meeting is just, how much of that 100,000 we took from gambling already that we wanna donate. So, I can put together kind of where we're at for our budget and come up with a proposal of what might be a decent amount, for our next meeting.
Okay. Yeah, and we are receiving one, what's the right name for it? One tribute donation, the player association's grandmother had passed away. It's not a large donation by any means, but it is something that's coming. there's a check coming in the mail, and we'll kind of decide what to do with that. If, you know, maybe it's towards helping with some equipment for someone, or maybe even just that player, depending on what the amount is. She wasn't specific about it, but we're grateful for that donation. All right, who's filling in on the fundraising and marketing? They did a heck of a job typing things in, but they're not here to talk.
All right, I can do some of it. So to follow up on the big raffle, like cars, ATVs, I've talked to 2 dealers twice. Now I'm waiting to hear back from owners to see where we're gonna go with all this. I reached out to both Lakeville Motorsports dealers as well. I'm waiting to hear back. I'm hoping to have more firm stuff next month for that. And then Tina came up, I believe it was Tina, if not, I'm sorry, with our next quote unquote big thing we've talked about. So blankets were a success this year. So we want to move into beach towels that we would start selling pretty much right away. We could get them out before spring break. It's a 14-day turn time on them. The cost to us would be $14 per towel. Target selling price would be $25 to the members. It's the same type of thing we did last year. We're not identifying the word hockey to make it a little bit more inclusive so that people in different sports would consider still buying it. But it does have the hockey logo on it. And then one thing we talked about, because obviously it's not what used to be due days coming up. We could sell them right away. We could do something online, and we could also do it at the concession stand once we get them in stock. We could, you know, Tina and I talked about doing a big social push the first day it goes on sale, kind of like how we made them line up for blankets. We do that at the concession stand when those come into stock. But ideally, we'd get them out before spring break so families would take advantage right away. So Tina would like to motion, or I'm doing it for Tina, $2,100 to purchase 150 of those, which would then be sold at $25 a pop. Yep.
We have a motion, is there a second?
All the blankets were sold, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're out.
I'll second
In favor? It's good?
I will let Tina know that it's good to go. The next fundraiser that's being talked about doing that came out online would require no upfront money from the board. It's setting up like custom online engraving, like coffee cups and tumblers. They'd be direct shipped to the customer. I actually don't know that much about it other than what's been written. We've had a few conversations about it, but that's something that's being worked on as well.
This is a adrenaline fundraising, and I've just worked with them on some other ideas. And they're a great organization to partner with. A lot of other youth programs work with them. They have a ton of options to raise money, do it fast, and it's zero upfront cost to us. So Tina and I had met with him probably 3 months ago, and just kind of too little too late to get anything going. But she wants to start this now with the tumbler thing.
Right, and so there's no initial investment. They host and run the online store and basically run everything. We just get a kickback.
Yeah,
We have to
so
share our logo.
depending on what you do, like you can negotiate their cut on certain things. Like if I wanted to do an Amazon gift card raffle,
Yeah.
you can negotiate what their cut is. I think on the products, they're a little more black and white on what their take is for administering it.
Sure.
But pretty much you just gotta either gotta get them in front of an audience, or you gotta send a message to your community about, hey, this fundraiser's out there, here's where you go to purchase and all that. So it's pretty simple, it's turnkey.
Yeah, I say there's no upfront investment.
Yeah.
Gung ho.
It's
Let's
a
get that
no-brainer.
online store out and shared and published, right? I mean, was it not this past off season, but the one before? What, it was just a member of our association went and got the Tiger Toe gloves for a deal or whatever, and I see them everywhere. Yeah, tumblers like this, they're awesome. They're great coaches gifts, Christmas gifts, whatever. So, yeah, gung ho on that. Especially no initial investment and no investment in resources or anything to just provide a logo and let them run an online store and we get a kickback. Sweet.
Sorry, Chris.
And I was just to say, not topic for a different day, but he's been very inquisitive about our pizza thing. So just maybe before we lock into, he might be worth talking to before we lock into what we do for pizzas next year.
Alright, the next thing is Tina and I will be doing another Facebook Live with Roar on Saturday, January 18th to draw the next raffle winners. So we will get the time published once her and I connect. The fundraising committee is going to meet February 5th once again. And then, as was discussed, and I'm sure a lot of people saw, Due Days has now been renamed Top the Tater Days. Kemp's is taking over major sponsorship of this event. So a lot more to come. That just literally came out online, I think 2 weeks ago, that Due Days is out and Top the Tater Days is in.
Interesting.
No, but it makes total sense, cause it used to be Mountain Dew Days and Pepsi was the main sponsor and ponied up a ton of cash for it. The whole reason we went, what was it, 10, 12 years with no town celebration was they had a sponsor. And so Due Days was just rejuvenated a few years back now. This will hopefully make it a little bit bigger draw, you know, maybe they can get back to having fireworks and stuff to draw people in town on Saturday night. And we just gotta figure out what kind of games and stuff do they wanna play that we can make some money off of.
That is it from fundraising stuff.
Alright, Lindsay, nothing on tournaments, right? We have a subcommittee for regional tournament, which I know last week I had too many people out of town didn't come to, but we'll get working on that this week. If you're on that and you had a chance to review the thing, if there's something in particular you wanna head up as one of our responsibilities, sweet. Otherwise, I'll just kinda start divvying it out. You know, we've already secured the ice time on that. We gotta secure officials, print programs, things like that, which those are gonna be quick turnaround items at the end, cause we won't really run those tournaments until 14 days before when the district tournaments ramp up, so. Yeah, I'll get moving. Jordan, nothing on, wearables?
No.
Sweet. How about facilities?
The feasibility company came last week, met with, surrounding rinks. They flew in for 2 days. Should have that report back in probably early February.
Yeah, late January, early
I
February.
think she was shooting for the end of January.
So it's moving.
Alright, level updates, lower level. Oh, yeah, grievance, Jordan, go ahead if you wanna update.
It's nothing. We're just working through one of 12 for the year.
Yeah, so members of that committee, if you can hang for 5-10 minutes after, we'll review and decide if we're gonna post a hearing or if we're just going to say, based on what we know enough to stand by or change what's been decided.
It's just John. Mike and Amy.
Melissa. Okay, we got a majority. Alright, now that I'm done being laughed at for skipping grievance, lower level.
Yeah, so really the only big one is just, my meltdown. Craig, thanks for getting out the dibs, that's awesome. I think they're all full. Yeah, so completely full. The only thing I don't know on the new system, cause I know you sign up Genius and it asks for like, who's doing what, like if you're a locker room attendant or what. Is that like laid out? Do you have that in Crossbar or do we have to do that again, you know what I mean? Where now we need to circle back. And if you signed up for like the 14th, you can choose whether you're a locker room attendant or you're in the concession stand. I just wanna make sure we communicate that out, so if people signed up, what they signed up for.
I guess I was under the impression it was all for concessions, but.
Yeah, you would have had to
Yeah,
specify
you
that
can
to him
specify
when
it.
you
And
sent
have
out
them sign
the.
up for it.
Concessions is really what we need dibs
Okay.
for, and I've sent a note to May and Holmes asking for high school player support, mainly for boards and running the clock. You know, it's 2.5 full days of that, but, and then plus just having them running around the rink, and they both said absolutely. We'll send a sign-up Genius for players to sign up once we have the finalized schedule, which we should.
Timing wise, even in the best case scenario, there's high school season's open.
Yeah, the state tournament's the weekend before, so, we'll send that out. We should have the schedule here, probably within the next few weeks, finalized. Yeah, so Scott's doing a little bit more recruiting, but once we're done with that, Yeah, it's looking really good. We're really excited.
Yeah, what he said.
Awesome. Anything else on U10 other than what we discussed earlier about goalie development and recruitment?
I just have some comments for both the 10U and 12U, just to get it out in front of people early and often. 12U, we are going to have 20 skaters and 1.5 goalies. There is 1 or 2 kids that are eligible to stay back, and with kind of the log jam with high school, that might be an option for them, but we'll be at 20 skaters, 1.5 goalies, 2 to 3 players. If we stay with one team, we'll probably flip to boys, so that will leave us at 17 skaters and 1 goalie.
You're talking U12 next year.
U12 next year, yeah. So we've got an issue there probably, because I think we can only dress
You can
Dress
18
18 at a time.
skaters and 2 goalies. If we were in a situation where we had 19 skaters, they will give exception for that.
Give exception,
But
okay.
if we're at 19 skaters, let's find 1 more skater and get 2 teams.
Yeah, I mean, so that's, well, yeah.
Easier
so-
said than done. I
Easier said than
totally
done, but yeah, we
understand
have, as of right now, I'm speculating 20 skaters and 1.5 goalies. So we should have enough-ish.
So
I'm not sure about Ella next year.
Yeah, I have her as 2 to 3 that might flip to boys.
the that 13U clause to stay 1 more year, the girls that are potentially eligible from that, are they on A team or are they on the B2 team? Because
There's one that's just eligible due to summer birthday if they wanted to stay back. If we wanted to do the 13U, I think we need to start having that conversation now, because I'd make more kids eligible, and then we'd be able to field 2 teams then.
yeah, and I think those are conversations worth having and not waiting until it's time to decide to try out or not, or we get
Right.
into the summer rumor mill where around every campfire somebody comes up with a different player count for the girls program.
Okay, so then I'll partner with somebody then to start talking about the 13U option.
And keep an open mind with Coach Holmes too,
Yeah.
just, know where he's at, what he's looking. He
I mean,
obviously
there's 2
can't pick
seniors
his
this
team,
year,
but he
so-
can have a good idea, just like we do.
Okay. And then for a 10U, we should be good. I'm speculating as of right now, early numbers. 15 to 17 kids move up from U8. Hopefully we keep 2 goalies, and we have 8 to stay back, so we'll have 2 teams next year for U10.
Excellent.
Everybody stays. So we are hopeful that there should be 4 teams fielded next year, if we can get it figured out.
It's encouraging news, thank you for the work on that. John, go ahead, lecture without lecturing.
For Pee Wee's, really no updates, but we had an incident last weekend. Please keep in mind tiger tone before, during, and after games towards officials, parents, anyone at the rink. Just keep in mind tiger tone.
Don't wanna go back to squirts? You skip squirts. Did I skip squirts? I did skip squirts. Sorry, I'm hungry.
So for squirts, we had a report made to Tim and I of what someone perceived as a safe sport incident. Myself, Tim, and Jordan investigated these concerns. I interviewed the person, I watched videos, they did the same. We found there's no concern, basically, and we've moved forward.
Yeah, so there's some code of conduct concerns that were addressed through the process with verbal warnings and stuff. The safe sport concern was not found to be based in anything that was reportable. There were other adults present that witnessed and saw things. There was a child who had a full recollection of the events, and it just, so if you hear things like, oh, they're not doing, no, we dug into and we have done the due diligence on it, revisited conversations time and time again with folks that were present. Yes, there was some code of conduct issues that have been addressed, but there was not, there wasn't things involving children involved in it. So, those things are taken seriously. Encourage everybody, in our membership and our board if you suspect or think something's going on, report it right away. Let's not wait 8, 9, 10 weeks. It's a lot easier to gather information with like just get fresh in people's minds when it comes to light weeks and weeks later. It's a lot harder to get the recollections because people have to really think back and go, okay, what the heck did happen way back then? So, but Matt, thank you for your work on pulling up videos and stuff to help look through all that stuff. Appreciate it. Okay, we did Pee-wees, right?
Yes.
So I'm not skipping them. All right, Bantams. Anything, Rob?
I mean, sure, but nothing, I mean, we've had some issues too that we're dealing with. Majority one team, we think we have a good game plan going forward to try and appease everyone.
And Scott, you got anything for Junior Gold? Mike said he had nothing to add, so. Alright, so we'll go into old business. We left last month, discussing with the proposal about do we extend and have president terms be 2 years and vice president terms be longer for continuity and stuff. Anybody have any new kind of proposals or discussion points around that, to work on hashing out this month as we make considerations towards the handbook change?
Maybe it's what we talked about, what I thought about today. What if we had president 2 years, vice president 1 year, and that vice president's up for re-election every year? Doesn't that work?
So the incoming president would always have 1 year as a vice president.
I thought maybe because if the vice president did a bad job and you didn't want a vice president, well, then you could vote in the new guy. But then maybe, I don't know how that would work to get you the president though.
Couldn't you just say the president, to run for president, you have to have served at least 1 year as a VP prior, so even like, you know, whoever, the next VP doesn't get reelected because people aren't happy, he technically could still then run for president because he'd have 1 year of eligibility. Not saying he or she would win, but then at least you would have multiple people eligible to run for it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just such a big commitment, 4 years.
Right.
You sign up, it's 4 years commitment.
Right, so you're gonna, realistically, you're going to join the board for 1 year and then step into 4 years of leadership because, to be perfectly honest, when your kid's a first year mite, you don't know enough people to get the votes. It's nothing against what you are up to try to help with or whatever. It's just people don't know the name, and name recognition comes into it, right? Our voter turnout it's not 100% of families that participate, so, I guess I still think a system where, as a sitting president, if you wanted to run for re-election would maybe be the better approach. Because I think some competition for those roles, you know, for however long now, it's always been, vice president's been one person against nobody, right? There's not been competition to that. You know, if somebody really, really wants to be the president, and it's not just, hey, you know, we got nobody else, you're gonna have to be the vice president and the president. You know, and if somebody really likes the role and wants to stick to it, give them the option to run for re-election, but then they can run against their vice president or a past vice president, something like that. I think there's a lot of logistics to it. Biggest fear is that we run out of candidates if you extend those terms. It's
Just do 1 year and re-election.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Like just do 1 year terms, if you, Tim, you're doing a great job, you wanna do it again, run for re-election again.
Yeah, I think you leave it to an option because it's not for everyone.
Yeah.
Some people may,
Most presidents at the end of their term are like, I'm thankful to be done, and they walk out.
you change their phone number. And
Yeah.
Okay, Lakeville, so if the president doesn't get reelected, the VP moves up. If he gets reelected, VP stays VP. Or do you-
I think you have a separate election for both.
Rerun for both.
So if you didn't wanna run again, you wouldn't have to.
But then what would we do if the person running against the president loses, but they still wanna be a part of the board? Do they get a board seat if they lose the president election, or are they out?
They're out.
You're out.
Well, this way it's been.
Yeah. And that's kind of tough because maybe you don't win the election as the president, but you might have a lot to bring to the table on the board. So And that's the tricky part about this conversation, because there's a lot of validity to that consistency in keeping things moving from year to year. I know Jordan and I have worked very hard this year for him to have visibility and awareness of damn near everything that's happened, and he's like, this even one more year, and he's like, actually, it's kind of light compared to last year. So, you know, there's other ways to work on that continuity, but there's a lot of validity to that. I just think our system currently isn't exact, it's not like it's broken. I just worry that if you start making it an additional commitment, because now you have to be a VP for 1 year, which means you have to be a board member. You're now in 4, 5, 6 years, right? What if your kid plays 2 years of squirt hockey and decides they're done, and you're still locked in for 2 years, right? It's a slippery slope. I don't know that there's a perfect answer. I don't know that the system we have now isn't perfect, but would any other system be perfect either? I mean, granted, somebody could resign, step away, whatever, at any time, but then that just creates a whole new mess, and hopefully we can never be in a situation where somebody does that. But
Is there an option, if you're voting for a president or vice president, have a secondary statement on there, would you like to re-elect for an at-large position? That way, if they get more votes than someone else for at-large, they would stay on the board.
I suppose you could put them in the at-large candidate pool, and if they win one of the officer spots, then it just goes to the next vote in the regular candidate pool.
That way, if they don't continue to be a vice president or president, but people want them on the board, they stay on the board.
Could we, and when I say we, whoever has some good ideas on this, type up a couple of possible scenarios that we could look at? Cause I mean, we talked about this last time, that we have this conversation every year and we talk through different, but we never take action, cause we never end up with anything to look at and truly.
I think some sort of
So I think
proposal
if
where
we
you can
want
run
to take
bid for
some
re-election.
action on it, I think it'd be great to have a couple different scenarios of what that could maybe look like, and then next meeting we can look at it and.
Draft of what does it look like if it's a 2-year term? What does it look like if it's open for re-election, and then can you be not re-elected or not elected to that officer spot but still collect votes towards an at-large bid? Because I think that could be the worst thing, is somebody doesn't win an officer spot and then now they also lose their at-large spot when they are a valuable member that contributes a ton. I mean, you can't have enough good people to get as many kids on the ice.
I mean, if you're smart about it, you run in a year while you still have your.
Correct.
You're not up for re-election and you run that year, so then your spot just gets turned over, but.
Any volunteers?
I just think it's a
Who's good
valid
at drafting
discussion,
language?
and
Not me.
if people have a couple ideas, just to put them on the agenda for next meeting, so we can look at them
I mean, you can even put them in as a suggested edit on the handbook document, because it is open for suggested
please
edits.
put them on the agenda though, too.
Yeah.
I don't wanna look at that. It's overwhelming.
We can copy and paste from it for you. I'll send it to you in a separate email. But yeah, I mean, brainstorming ideas on that it's a good conversation to have, because there's some good reasons for it. I just wanna make sure that we avoid potentially hurting that continuity by having unforeseen repercussions if we do go with something different, or somebody doesn't stay or doesn't get elected, et cetera. Adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
He's still
Second.
talking, what the, you can't put that in the minutes. Somebody second the motion to adjourn?
Second.
Are we in favor? Alright, thank you all.
I thought I was too hard to get to.
Oh, he's